D, introduce me to the genius that sparked your interest in playing the sport of basketball.
Wow. We'll go way back then.
Yeah.
Second grade, Lisa Campbell. That was my very first coach. Lisa Campbell. We used to play in the Blacktops in the back of Ayala High School in Chino Hills. And that's basically where I started to play.
Now, your dad was a professional soccer player, a goalie. Did you ever want to play soccer? Was that a sport you were good at too?
My sister and I, we grew up playing both soccer and basketball. So, we'd go to the soccer game, run to the basketball game, still have shin guards, high socks on, dirt marks everywhere, and we'd go straight to the basketball game. And so we'd play back and forth.
Having your dad as a professional athlete, did that help you handle everything you're dealing with now?
It's funny because he was a professional athlete in his time, but he really doesn't get involved with the whole, publicity, you're in the pros. My family doesn't touch on that. When I go home, it's rarely brought up. It's more of, how you doing, how's, your friends, how's this, how's that. And it's never like, so you working on your game? That's how they operate. They don't operate that way. That's not how our family, that's not how we grew up, and that's not how they think.
You were an All-American in high school, and then here comes the recruiting for college. I talked to Rebecca Lobo, and she said that Pat Summitt never recruited her. That blew me away. Now, did Pat recruit you? And if she did, why didn't you go to Tennessee?
It's funny. I got recruited by her junior year. You start getting phone calls and letters. And I remember getting a phone call. I actually went to Tennessee for an AAU tournament, and I was like, there's no way I could spend 4 years in Tennessee. So from then on, I was never a fan of that program. I don't know what it was.
So you kind of just disliked the program in a way.
Not the program, not the program, the area. I just wouldn't see myself living there for 4 years. Even though maybe if I would have gone to Tennessee, you don't know what could have happened, but I definitely made the right choice.
I couldn't see orange on you either.
You know why I couldn't? It's just Coach was the kind of coach I want to play for, Coach Arima, and it worked out.
When you stepped on foot in the campus and stores, number one, why did you do that when you came from California? I mean, when you went on your visit, did you think, wow, this is really nice? I mean, no, Stores is a nice campus. Right. But what was your initial thought? We're like, can I be here for 4 years?
I thought outside of that. I really did. I was outside of, I'm picking this school because it has a nice campus, because they have a nice locker room. Like, I kind of went outside of that because I didn't think that was that important. And I went to what kind of people are at the campus? What kind of players do they have? What kind of history do they have? Coach Rama, Coach Daly, Jamel, Tanya, what kind of relationship do they have with players? And it was just different than any other school I visited. It was just different. You could just tell.
Did you really think, did you envision the success you were about to have? 3 national championships, Player of the Year twice.
I mean, everyone, I think, goes into college wanting those things, the 3 national championships, 4 Final Fours. Everyone goes in there thinking they can do it, but when you get on campus, there's always that moment where you just doubt yourself for a minute and say, man, is this possible? You go into the premier program and they've achieved goals that probably won't be reached again. The best players are on there, Rebecca Lobo and Akeisha Sells, Svetlana, Shea Ralph. What can you add to that? Yeah. But I was confident enough where I knew if I would have went there, my game would have just elevated, being around those great players, great coaches. So that's what I was thinking when I stepped onto campus.
Coach Auriemma, there are a lot of people around women's college basketball that don't like him.
Right.
Could you see why?
I didn't like him for 4 years.
Didn't like
we were butt heads every single day for 4 years, and we got to a point my senior year where we had that respect for each other. I understood what he was trying to get out of me, and at the same time, I started responding to what he wanted. And being a senior, being that leader that the team needed, I really became a friend with Coach after 3 years. But it's hard to play for him. It is very hard to play for him.
You hear all the time people talk about their coaches and how they've learned so much from them outside of the sport that they played in. What would you say you learned about life from Geno?
You know what? The thing that I got the most out of school is the more you put into other people, the more you get into return. And that's always his biggest thing. And being a freshman, the one word I heard over, you're selfish. You're selfish. And at the time, I didn't understand
he said that to you.
Oh, yeah, you're selfish. You're selfish. They're right. I'm like, who's right?
You were like a freshman in sophomore.
Oh, the minute I got on campus, you're selfish, this, that. You don't care about anyone but yourself. And the whole time, I'm like, what are you talking about? I love to pass. I didn't understand what the concept of being selfish was. But then I understood the bigger picture of, when you're having a bad day or you're not playing well, that it's not about you. As long as everyone around you is doing their job and you're helping them. So, I mean, it goes beyond just being selfish on the court.
Earlier this season, he kind of went off on the fans and stores
Right.
because that overtime win against South Florida.
Right.
I mean, UConn won the game, but the fact it was close against South Florida, he said that the fans and stores are spoiled and they just want something to complain about. Would you agree with Coach?
I mean, you get to a point where you get complacent, and it's funny because either you win by 40 and the games are boring, or it's a 4-point game and, like, what's going on with University of Connecticut. So, I mean, it's that fine line, which they're the greatest fans. We sell out every game. They're as loyal as can be. But, sometimes coaches got to get them going, too.
Would you say they're spoiled? A
We're all spoiled.
Yeah?
As a player, I'm spoiled. As fans are spoiled. Coach is spoiled. We've gotten to a point where that program is just, everyone wants to be there. Everyone wants to be Connecticut. So sometimes you just got to look back and see how you got there.
When you win so much like you did, you lost 8 games in 4 years.
Right.
But was there ever a point in time during your career where you were like, this isn't fun at all?
Oh, yeah. There was times, a freshman year, where I was like, what am I doing here? I'm in the middle of nowhere, go to practice, get killed every day. I don't feel like I'm any good. Why am I here? That's how you feel. And even throughout my sophomore year, you go undefeated. People think, oh, it must have been an easy year. You guys won every game by 25 points. That was probably the hardest year I had in 4 years.
Hardest year in 4 years.
Because you would go into the game and win, but you'd go every single day in the office and you'd just get ripped. Or, you would lose every day in practice to him. He made it. That's how hard he made it in practice, because we were that good.
Were there any breakdowns, emotional breakdowns?
Oh, yeah.
What were those like?
Oh, those are horrible. And I mean, I think.
Are you crying? Are you
Everyone who's gone through that program, you have that practice where it's going to be you. No matter what you do, it's going to be on you.
Really?
And, being a point guard, everyone's gone through it. Jen Rosati, Rita, Sue, where you just have that one day where he won't get off your back, and he takes you out of the drill, puts you on the sideline, you just look up and you just start crying because you don't know what the heck to do. You just don't, what am I going to do? I have no clue what to do now.
But then on the other hand, he did give you some compliments. I mean, how many times in press conferences we have to hear, she's the best player of all time?
And trust me, I would go into the office, Coach, you can't say that. Stop saying that. Just stop saying that. We know that, but stop saying that.
I mean, seriously. I mean, it had to make other girls on other teams just be like, I can't wait to get a piece of Taurasi.
Yeah, but that's what Coach does. He motivates. And at the same time, he put that pressure on me without putting it on me. Because I would hear it, and I'm like, man, I got to go out there and play well tonight. As a team, we have to go out there and play well. We have to, get to the level where we put ourselves, and it's hard. Those expectations are hard to reach every time.
Elevated when the men's program and the women's program did it at the same time. You won national championships when the men's team didn't. Right. What was that like to be around when, you dominated on both sides of the court? Campus
was just, there was a certain energy around campus, especially once like February and early March hit, where there was all this talk, well, the men have a great chance, the women do too. And our seasons kind of took the same paths, where we were both preseason number 1. We go through the season. Both teams, up and down, struggle. There's doubts. Well, maybe they don't have enough of this. Maybe their leaders aren't good enough. And, we lost some games. We won some games. And then we got to March. We both just got on a roll. Just dominated. Every game we played in, we found a way to play our best basketball. So when we saw them win, they're down in San Antonio. They win the national championship. We get together. We go to coaches to room before our national championship game. We're watching. They win, and we're like, oh, we're happy. And then we're like, we better win. We have to win now. There's no ands if we have to win now. There's no way that the men are going to win it and we disappoint the other half of it. So, there was that pressure too.